Looking for an easy way to add the Google Sign-In button to your web app? Maybe all you want to do is show the user their profile picture. In this video, I'm going to show you step by step as I add in the Google Sign-In button to my web app and show you my avatar and my email address on a web page. Check it out. Welcome to my series. I'm Danny. I'm a senior full stack engineer working at an ed tech company, and I help JavaScript developers ship awesome apps on AWS. I recently had a project where I had to create a web portal for internal users. This was only going to have some static content on it, so it didn't have a backend. Everything was just going to be loaded up right on the web page. We did have some stuff on the backend, and there we did want to guarantee that the users requesting those things from the backend were in fact our own internal users. So we didn't want to create an entire backend just to be able to handle this one simple use case. We just wanted to personalize the web page a little bit and be able to authenticate the user by email address on the backend. So what's with the Google Sign-In button? Google Sign-In has a thing called Sign-In for websites, which is a button you can slap on your page that when user clicks it, they wind up logging in. As far as your page is concerned, the button changes. It goes from sign in with Google to signed in. And from that point forward, you have access to the simple things like the user's email address, their avatar, which is a URL, which you can then load on your page. So I'm going to be following along with my post. You can find it here at intricatecloud.io. I've got some extra details in there, like when you'd want to use it versus when you wouldn't want to use it. But for the purpose of this, I'm just going to jump right to the code. So if you want to see it in text, be sure to check out this post. If not, you can follow along with this video. So what we're going to be covering is this thing called Google Sign-In for websites. It is a way of adding in this sign in with Google button. It's already branded. You don't have to do any extra CSS or styling to your web page. All you do is add in a div element, and then everything else just kind of falls right into place. So I'm going to build this step by step. So I'm going to jump over to VS Code, and actually I'm here in my workspace. I'm going to create a new directory called demo. Inside of here, I'm going to create an index.html page. So I'm going to do open index.html, which is going to load this HTML file right in my browser. Easy so far. So let me open that up in VS Code. So I'm going to do code dot, which will open up VS Code in my current directory. I'm going to index.html. Then here I'm just going to throw in some boilerplate. I'm going to throw in a head element with a title tag in there for my Google Auth demo. And then I'm going to have a body. And in there I'm going to put an H1 Danny's demo, my demo page. Cool. So I'm going to jump over here, make sure that it works. Cool. Got my demo page set up. So the next thing is you actually have to sign up with Google in order to obviously be able to add in the sign in with Google button. So we can head on over to the Google Developer Console. So that's console.developers.google.com. And I'm going to sign in as Amy at intricatecloud.io, where you can find the rest of my posts. So I'm on this page, and it currently says no organization here. I was expecting to see the project show up here, but what happens if I click the select from organization? Oh, it must have created it under my domain name, and here it is, Xenon Container Google Auth Demo Project. So I don't have any APIs available to use yet. That's not what I'm going to enable right now. I actually don't have to enable anything because what we're actually going to use it for is the bare minimum. So we are going to request to create some credentials in order to be able to access that API. We're going to do OAuth client ID so that our app can access the user's data. In this case, it's going to be a link to their profile picture, their name, and their email address. So I'm going to first set a product name on this consent screen because that's what it's telling me I have to do. So I'm gonna make the text a little bit bigger. And this is my OAuth consent screen. So this is a pop-up that's actually going to show up on the page once the user clicks sign in. So you can put your own logo there and the name of your Google API project. So I'm going to call this one Google Auth Demo Google Project. I'm not going to add in an application logo. Oops. I'm going to get their email and their profile. That's it. I'm not going to enable anything else here on this page. Cool, so now I am back at create OAuth client ID. So in order for us to call the Google APIs, we're going to have to create a client ID in order to generate an access token. We're not going to need all that yet, but we are going to create credentials that are of web application type. So this is my Google Auth demo web application in the Google Developer Console. I'm going to leave these fields blank so that you can see what happens when you leave them out or if they're misconfigured, which tends to happen kind of often. So I created it, and here it says, here's your client ID. You can copy this really long string to your HTML page. So there's also a client secret here, but we're actually not going to use it for anything. All we really need is the client ID, and I'm going to deactivate these credentials anyway right after the video is over, so don't get all twisted. So I'm going to copy that client ID and cool. So back at our HTML page, I need a way to tell the Google script to interact with the Google OAuth project that I just finished creating. So for that, they provided this facility that you can use behind a meta tag that lives inside of your head element. And if you name it, so this is just pulled straight off their docs, Google sign in client underscore ID. This underscore is very important. Content equals that, and this will be your client ID. So this will look a little, this part of the URL will look a little bit different once you actually generate yours. So now that we've added in our client ID to the HTML page, we can go ahead and add the script. So the script we can pull right from Google's own website, apis.google.com/JavaScript platform JS, async defer, which will make sure that this script loads asynchronously. And the last piece is to actually add in the button. So I have a div. The way that their script works is it will comb through your HTML page and look for any element that has the CSS class on it, g-signin2, and it will dynamically inject some JavaScript into the page in order to handle the whole workflow, and you don't really have to style anything on your own. So if I jump over to the browser now, I am here. I was expecting something over on the page, so maybe not. So let me make this bigger so that y'all can see it. Okay, so I have an uncaught exception here. Invalid cookie policy. Oh, right. I'm still loading this from as an index file. So the way that the Google sign in button works is it can detect whether you're signed in or not. It sets a cookie with your information in it. So it won't work if I'm serving it as a file. I need to be able to serve it via like something like localhost index HTML. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to use this tool called Python-M simple HTTP server. It is very nice for making a very simple web server that will just serve up all the contents in your current directory. So if I just do this by default, it will create a server that runs on port 8000, and I'm going to go to localhost 8000, and cool. Now I actually see the sign button, and I still see my content here. There's a few other errors in here though, so let's check those out. Not a valid origin for the client. HTTP localhost 8000 has not been whitelisted for client ID. Cool. Remember I said I was not going to be filling out those things that you do have to fill out in order for this to work. We are going to jump back to our Google Developer Console. We're going to go to our Google Auth demo project and check out our web application. So this is where you have to add an authorized JavaScript origin. Basically, what an authorized JavaScript origin is, you're telling Google that you know for a fact that only these URLs are supposed to be interacting with this specific client ID. So in our case, I'm only expecting my users to use localhost 8000, and that's what Google should be expecting. So I'm going to click save, and it says OAuth client saved. I'm going to jump back over here, and it says not a valid, this is supposed to work. Okay, I did add it here, right? HTTP localhost 8000 as a JavaScript origin. Yeah. Oh, something must have been cached. So I did empty cache and hard reload, so now that error didn't come up, but this one stayed. I think this one I can ignore. So I'll also make that bigger. I'm gonna do sign in. So this is the name that we provided all the way over here. The OAuth consent screen. That's your application name. That's what's going to show up in this little pop-up here. So I'm going to sign in with my Danny at intricatecloud.io and 403. What happens if I sign in? Cool. So when I refresh the page, I can see that the button says sign in for a quick second, and then it says signed in because it already knows that I'm signed in, but I didn't really have to code anything else. So all of that is provided just by adding in this g-sign in to your page. That's actually pretty neat. The fact that you can do that much stuff in there. For the most simplest of web cases, this is all you'd want. But we're going to explore a little bit more of what else you can do with it. Because the most important piece is actually being able to see the user's information and dynamically add it into the page. So in order to be able to identify the user, you're going to have to add in this data on success attribute, which is a way of telling the Google script to call a function, which I'm going to call on sign in, to call this function on the page, and it will then give me the user's information. So if I go here and I create an inline script, and I'm going to create a function called on sign in, they're going to pass me the Google user's information. I'm going to do console.log user is Google user.get basic profile. And just make it look nice, yeah, or at least see what's actually there. Working about. Okay, now I'm going to refresh. Missing after argument list. Oh, too many. Cool. Okay, where am I currently at? So far, I've got the signed in button showing up on my page. So you can see that now after I've signed in, the button says signed in, and I haven't had to do anything else in order to get it to do that. It'll do that automatically. So here we have a JSON string containing a bunch of fields. I don't think these fields mean much, but hey, my information's in here. Here is my email that I can get via the U3 property, or Danny, if you can get through obviously the OFA property. There are easier ways of getting to that information, so I'm going to show you right now because we're going to do something more interesting other than console logging your user information, because clearly that's not useful to anybody. Cool. So I'm going to take the information that we have from the user and we're just going to throw it somewhere on the page. So I'm going to create a div element here, and then this element is what I'm going to use I'm going to add some stuff to it with some of the user's information that I get. So I think one easy way I have of doing this is document.querySelector to get a reference to the content element that we just defined right here. And then I'm going to set the text in there to Google user.getBasicProfile. And there's some methods here that you can use, like getName or getGivenName. But in order to find out what those methods actually are, if you go to the Google sign-in for websites here, there's a tab here called Reference. In this reference, you can see all the different methods that are available to you. And the Google user that we get is an instance of Google user get basic profile, which says we can call the following methods on that object. So I'm gonna pull out get given name, and I'm gonna put the image URL dynamically into the page once I've signed in. So here it looks like I'm doing that. I'm gonna close that. Cool. And our text equals get basic profile get given name, and so if I refresh the page here, I'm going to see just my name. Cool. So my given name is Danny. What does get name give me? My full name. I guess my given name would just be my first name. So that just shows Danny Perez. All right. So now let me get my picture in here for shits and giggles. Document. You know what? I'm gonna this element var get that element. Yeah, and then do element dot. I'm gonna create a new element with my image. I don't have any jQuery on the page, so I'm just using the raw document.create element in order to put this together. I'm going to create an image element, and then on image, I'm going to set an attribute called source, and then do Google user dot get, what is it? Get image URL. I think that one works. Get image URL. Get image URL, and then I'm going to send that to the content element. Cool. That should give me something. Google user get image URL is not a function. Google user. Oh, because I have to do it on get basic profile. Oh, so you know what? I'm going to highlight those two references to get basic profile. I'm going to call that profile. Whoops. I'm going to call that profile, and then I'm going to var profile equals. Now I can use it. All right. Boom, boom, boom. My name, and in a highly pixelated format, my one initial for my first name. So cool. We have now added the Google sign in button to the page. I've gotten my name to show up as well as an image, as well as my avatar to show up. So the last part for this tutorial is being able to sign out so that you can go ahead and click sign in again, and so you can see the whole process from start to finish. And also, you probably want to add the ability for your users to sign out of your page anyway. So we're going to add in a sign up button. Now, to do that, we're going to have to create another button, and we're going to attach a non-click handler to it that's just on the page. I'm going to call that one sign out, and make it say sign out. So I'll go back to here, and I've added in the sign out button here at the bottom. Cool, so let me implement that. I'm going to do function sign out, and then the way you actually have to go about signing out is you have to use the GAPI library, GAPI, .auth2, get auth instance. And then from here I can call sign out. It's got a method called sign out, and that returns a promise, which doesn't have any information. So I'm going to make this console log user sign out, but I don't get anything back from it. So let's try that. Refresh the page. I did sign out. User signed out, and the sign in button changed back, but I still have my name here. Yeah, that's because I have the content element still there. If I do sign out again, nothing changes. If I click sign in, then I'm presented. Oh, I automatically sign in. I don't even get the chooser to authenticate again. It says signed in. I can do signed out. I can check in, and boom, I've added in Google login. So this here get auth instance, there's actually a lot of things that you can do with this API. Again, you can see all of that stuff here on the Google Sign In for Websites reference page. Gappy.auth2.getAuth instance. You have a bunch of things like in the sign-in listener, being able to touch a click handler if you want to style your own button. There's a few different things that are there. So that's actually going to be part of the next video, which is doing a little bit more than just making a very ugly demo page that shows my avatar and my username. Um, for my next video, I'm going to show you a few more hacky things you can do with gappy.auth2.getAuth instance API. We're going to do things like show and hide content on the page based on whether you're logged in, as well as seeing how you can detect when the user's logged in and be able to do different things on the page dynamically. So we're going to do that in the next video. Make sure to check it out.